There's a deep misunderstanding about what a man truly wants most, and if you don't correct it, you will always play a side role in your own love story. Ladies, let's talk about power, not the kind that wins arguments or meetings, but the raw, magnetic, deeply feminine kind that comes from within your confidence. For far too long, the story of intimacy has been told to us the wrong way around. We've been trained to focus on technique, on pleasing, on being the one who reacts instead of leads. We're told that great moments are about noise, about speed, about doing everything on a checklist. And while those things can create a nice memory, they never create the kind of unforgettable, soul-shaking experience that makes a man wake up thinking only about you for days. Here's the truth. The one that changes everything. You're not just there to give. You are there to lead, to direct, to command the entire energy of the moment. It's about being so present, so aware of your own desire, that your energy becomes the most powerful attraction in the room. This isn't only about pleasure, it's about holding the reins of the whole experience, understanding the psychology of his desire better than he does. It's knowing that his body, his thoughts, and his want are yours to guide, not just something you react to. I once believed that true connection came only from the physical. I spent years trying to do what I thought men wanted, assuming that the louder the reaction, the better I was. But what I learned later changed everything. The physical is only the surface. The real depth lies in emotional tension, mental chemistry, and small shifts in power. It was only when I stopped trying to please and started owning my space that everything changed. It's the difference between being good and being unforgettable. That small inner shift, that new posture of confidence, is what we're unlocking today. This isn't about tricks or quick advice. It's about emotional transformation, the kind that turns a simple moment into something that lingers in the body and mind. We're going to uncover 5 deep shifts that create this magnetic pull, starting from the very first touch and the very first look. Because when you approach intimacy from a place of full self-possession, you lift the entire experience, not just for him, but also for yourself. The first and most surprising key is mastering the art of deliberate slowness. Not just slow in movement, but slow in thought. Most women rush, not because they want to, but because they're nervous. They want it to be over quickly, or they're chasing approval from his reactions. That pressure to perform creates anxious energy that kills real sensuality. But true, lasting tension doesn't come from speed. It comes from patience and anticipation. When you slow down with complete confidence, when you move like time belongs to you, you send a primal signal to his mind. I am in control. I move when I want, not when you expect. This isn't about delay. It's about authority. You're setting a rhythm that pulls him out of his head and into his senses. You make him a receiver, not just a watcher. Think of it like music. You can't rush the build-up. Each slow, intentional note adds pressure until the release feels overwhelming. Let's start with the foundation of this, a technique that uses slowness as your greatest tool. It's about everything except the main focus. This early exploration turns a simple act into a full-body takeover, an experience that feels calm, commanding, and completely consuming. This approach is what separates an ordinary moment from a transformative one. But there's one subtle, almost invisible move you can use in this first phase, a single action that blends breath and closeness to create an instant, irresistible connection. It makes him drop all mental control long before the real touch even begins. What is that quiet but powerful move that hits deeper than any touch? I'll reveal it in a moment. But first, understand this. Your true power is in your patience, not performance. You are not rushing to meet his desire. You're shaping it, drawing it out, building it until he's completely caught in your energy. That invisible move, the one that sets a hypnotic tone before anything physical happens, is your breath and your closeness. Think of your breath not just as something you do, but as a tool. When you lean in, not touching yet, and let your soft, warm exhale brush gently against his skin, his inner thigh, his stomach, or that one sensitive spot, you bypass his logical mind completely. It's not just a feeling. It's an invasion of his personal space that carries total confidence. It makes him hyper-aware of your calm control. It's a whisper that says, "I'm here, I'm steady, and I'm about to lead." That soft, slow breath is like the first stroke of paint, claiming the space and quietly declaring that the moment now belongs to you. And this brings us to the first big shift, what I call the perimeter approach. Most women rush straight to the center. They treat the experience like a sprint. This is where you change the rhythm, a conscious pause, a slow, teasing build of tension. The perimeter strategy is the cure for rushing. It's the art of exploring everything around before getting to the main focus. Because when it comes to male desire, the mind is often stronger than the body. The easiest way to awaken it is through the unexpected. Treat his body like a map, and you're the curious, confident explorer. Start on the edges, his thighs, his hips, his stomach, the base of his spine. These areas are full of sensitivity, yet often ignored. When you give them attention, with light kisses, slow trails of your tongue, or just the soft brush of your hair, you're doing more than creating pleasure. You're building emotional electricity. You're silently telling him that you desire all of him, not just one part, and that waiting is part of the pleasure. This is your first real rhythm shift. Slow exploration, deepening tension. The pacing feels endless for him, but intentional for you. Hold a kiss on his skin for 3 full seconds, long enough for him to lose his sense of time, and for you to show that you own every second of it. Then pull back just an inch and shift to another unexpected spot. Let your fingers trace slow patterns across his hips, keeping his mind guessing. His thoughts will start to race, trying to predict your next move, trying to pull you closer. But you must remain calm, centered, and deliberate. This is the perfect moment to bring in your personal energy, the part of you that connects on an emotional level beyond touch. I once believed that men wanted directness, that the shortest route to pleasure was always the best. But I've since learned that what they truly crave is to be seen, to feel that their entire being is the focus of your full, intentional desire. When you take your time exploring the edges, the overlooked places, you satisfy a deeper need, one they rarely express aloud. You're showing that this isn't just a moment of release. It's an experience. Now, as the tension grows almost unbearable, you'll notice his breathing change. His muscles tighten, his chest rises faster. This is where you introduce the second shift, the playful retreat, the emotional peak. You lift your head slightly, maybe pause, and lock eyes with him. That single look, that powerful second of connection, is the emotional high point. It confirms your control and his surrender. But here's the key move before the tension breaks. Add a tactile cue. Use your hands to cup him lightly, a sign of intent, and then gently press him back down, re-establishing your control before returning to the edges for one more teasing round. You're not just reacting to his energy, you're shaping it. This constant dance, advance and retreat, promise and denial, builds an irresistible craving. When you finally decide to focus completely, he's not just aroused, he's completely lost in you. His mind has surrendered, his body tuned entirely to your rhythm. The shift from teasing his mind to commanding his body is the second major rhythm, moving from mental tension to raw anticipation. But before he can experience full release, he must give up all control to you. Now that you've established dominance through the perimeter approach, keeping him in that heightened, trembling state of anticipation. We move into the second major power dynamic, the rhythmic command, the artful partnership between your hands and your mouth. This is where most women lose rhythm. They treat their hands as accessories, holding awkwardly or not moving at all, unaware that the hands are the foundation of the entire experience. His brain can only process one stream of sensation clearly at a time. Your goal is to confuse that system, to create two perfectly synchronized yet contrasting flows of pleasure that his mind can't categorize. When your hands and mouth act separately, it feels good. But when they move in deliberate contrast, when each enhances the other, the experience becomes hypnotic. The mindset you need here is simple. Your hands are not secondary. They are the rhythm section, the steady base on which your mouth creates melody. Your hands should set pressure and rhythm, whether gently at the base, along the length, or tracing the inner thigh, while your mouth delivers a different speed, a new texture, a new focus. Picture this. Your mouth moves in slow, deep rhythm, holding the pace you established earlier. At the same time, your hands twist lightly, add pressure, or move in an opposite rhythm. That sudden contrast breaks his mental focus. His brain can't decide which sensation to follow, and that confusion becomes overwhelming. It's not chaos, it's controlled overload. It leaves him helpless, fully surrendered to the rhythm you command. This is the secret behind turning a she's good moment into an I can't stop thinking about her obsession. You're not just touching him, you're playing his entire nervous system like an instrument. His mind, body, and emotions are all tuned to your tempo. This is where you create the third major shift, the contrast of speed and texture. You move from slow, teasing control to bursts of intensity, then back again. After a long, soft build-up, you introduce a short, confident surge, a few seconds of stronger, more deliberate motion, before easing back into your slow, mesmerizing rhythm. That sudden change, that shock of intensity against calm control, is what burns the memory into him. It's what makes him think, what is happening to me right now? Many women overthink this. They worry about sound, about texture, about being perfect. I used to do the same, trying to make everything smooth, quiet, and flawless. But the truth is, the most unforgettable moments come from confidence, not perfection. They come from you owning the rhythm, even when it's unpredictable. It's not about doing it right. It's about being bold enough to lead. This brings us to the most subtle but powerful part of rhythmic command, the feedback loop. As you create these shifts, become a sharp observer of his reactions. Don't just notice the big signs, pay attention to the small ones. The quick tightening of his jaw, the sudden breath he can't control, his fingers gripping the sheets a little harder. These are his body's truths, the language his words can't speak. When you catch one of those reactions, don't ignore it. Stay with it. If your slow hand movement makes him exhale sharply, hold that pressure just a second longer. Let him drown in it before you move again. You're silently telling him, I see what you feel, and I can take you deeper. This is what transforms the act into a true dialogue, a conversation where your touch speaks louder than words. This back and forth rhythm, acting, observing, adjusting, creates the most powerful form of connection. He no longer feels like you're just doing something to him. He feels like you're with him, reading his every hidden signal, answering his every need before he can name it. That's what makes it unforgettable. He won't just remember how it felt. He'll remember the sense of being completely known, completely understood, and completely guided. Once you've mastered the physical rhythm, the layered dance between hands and mouth, it's time to step beyond the physical. Because the most magnetic part of intimacy isn't touch, it's energy. And the fastest way to transfer that energy is through your eyes. This is your third major shift, the confident gaze. Eye contact not for connection, but for command. Most women instinctively look away in these moments. They hide behind their hair, their shyness, or old habits that teach them to appear gentle and modest. But when you look away, you give away power. You signal hesitation or uncertainty. When you raise your head and meet his eyes, steady, calm, and sure, you send an entirely different message. It says, "I'm not hiding. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm in charge here." That gaze doesn't just connect, it dominates. It turns the moment into something unforgettable, something far deeper than physical pleasure. You are now adding a new, deeply emotional and psychological layer to the experience. You're no longer just giving physical pleasure, you're creating a shared mental connection. In that moment, he stops seeing you as someone doing something to him. Instead, he begins to see you as the calm, powerful woman guiding him into complete surrender. This eye contact isn't a shy glance. It's a deliberate break in the rhythm, a controlled pause that forces him to truly see you. The timing of it matters. Do it right in the middle of an intense, skillful movement, or immediately after a change in rhythm that has clearly brought him to the edge. When your eyes meet, don't look for approval. Don't ask a question with your gaze. Instead, let a small, confident smile appear. Maybe a subtle lift of your eyebrow, that quiet smirk that says, "Yes, I know exactly what I'm doing to you, and I'm enjoying every second of your surrender." That brief, electric exchange creates a powerful psychological spark. It fuses the physical pleasure he's feeling with your image, your control, and your energy. That's how you form a loop in his mind, one that keeps linking desire to you. From that moment on, pleasure itself becomes tied to your face, your voice, your confidence. That's how obsession is born. This brings us to the final rhythmic shift, the mental pause, or what I like to call emotional resonance. You physically stop for just a second or two while holding eye contact. That tiny pause lets the full force of what he's feeling crash into the mental realization that you are the one in charge of every bit of it. The weight of that awareness often hits harder than the physical act itself. From everything I've seen and read, stories, reflections, and real experiences, men often say that what stays with them most is not the touch, but those fearless moments of eye contact. The body forgets the details, but the gaze stays imprinted in their memory. I used to think intensity meant keeping the action non-stop, but now I understand that a well-timed pause, that split second of control, is far more powerful. It makes the experience last in the mind, not just the body. Now, we've covered the perimeter, the rhythmic command, and the confident gaze. Those three alone will completely transform the way you connect. But there's one more key element, the one that locks the memory into his emotional core and makes him crave your presence even long after it's over. It's something small, often forgotten: words. Because words, when spoken in the right moment, bypass logic and go straight to emotion. This final element is a verbal anchor, a short, powerful sentence said at the perfect moment of vulnerability. So, what is that phrase? The one line that acts as an emotional time capsule, keeping your presence alive in his mind? The answer is simple, but how you say it is everything. We've now reached the final and most potent move, the verbal anchor. It's your voice, used with confidence, intention, and perfect timing. Most people underestimate their voice, treating it as background. But your voice is not an accessory. It's your second form of touch. The right moment to use it is when he's completely surrendered, lost in the sensations you've built. His breathing is uneven, his mind is blank, and every part of him is tuned to you. That's when you lean in close, your lips near his ear, and whisper, "I love watching you lose control." This isn't just a line. It's a statement of ownership, a seal of dominance and appreciation. It cuts through his logic and lands straight in his primal center. Those words carry two deep psychological messages. First, you're validating him, telling him that his surrender, his intensity, is not something to hide, but something you find beautiful. That affirmation soothes him at a deep, instinctive level. Second, you're reminding him that you are the reason for that surrender. You're confirming your role as the one in control, the director of everything he's feeling. This transforms the experience into a story about power, not just pleasure. The softness of your whisper contrasts with the weight of the message, making it unforgettable. That line, your tone, your nearness, all of it stays in his head long after the moment has passed. It becomes a loop, his mind replaying your voice and reliving the sense of losing himself under your command. That's the power of intentional words. They turn a temporary feeling into an emotional echo that lingers. They're what make a memory replay again and again in his thoughts. And this leads to the fifth and final secret, one that isn't about what you do, but about how you are. It's the power of receiving. Because you can't be the confident conductor, the rhythmic master, or the fearless gazer if you're not fully present in your own experience. True connection isn't a performance, it's a shared flow of energy and desire. When you allow yourself to feel the full impact of what you're creating, when a real smile crosses your lips, when your breathing syncs with the rhythm you've set, when you take your time simply because you enjoy it, that energy becomes contagious. He senses it. He sees your pleasure in your own power. That energy of deep self-acceptance is what truly binds him to you. If you make the moment only about his reaction, you come from need. But when you center yourself in your own confidence and delight, you radiate abundance, a kind of effortless magnetism that no technique can imitate. That's what turns attraction into devotion. This final act of receiving is what completes everything. It's what turns a good experience into something spiritual, something unforgettable. We've now walked through the 4 major moves: the perimeter tease, the rhythmic command, the confident gaze, and the verbal anchor. Each one builds upon the last, shaping not just the experience, but the way he perceives you. Because real intimacy isn't a checklist. It's not about performing steps in order. It's about embodying your most magnetic, fearless, and self-possessed self, the version of you that doesn't seek approval, but naturally commands attention. You're not just arousing him, you're claiming him in a way that speaks to his most primal need for both surrender and connection. You're showing him something he didn't even know he was craving. A woman who knows her power and uses it with grace and confidence. You now hold the keys to creating moments that don't just feel good, but that reshape how he sees you. Moments that turn attraction into lasting obsession. He won't just remember your touch, he'll remember your presence, your energy, your command. The only question left is this. When you meet his eyes and he looks back into yours, what story of power will you tell? If this exploration into the psychology of desire and magnetic confidence spoke to you, don't just keep it as theory. Take action. Tap the like button as a symbol of claiming your power. Subscribe so you never miss another deep dive into this kind of emotional and energetic mastery. And tell me in the comments, which of these 4 techniques, the perimeter, the command, the gaze, or the anchor, feels most aligned with the woman you're becoming? Let's grow this space together, a community of women who lead with confidence, power, and grace. Until next time, stay radiant, stay fearless, and remain the architect of your own desire.